Well, good morning and welcome to Our Stories. Our guest today is Mark Schleeter. Mark, you grew up in Central Illinois,
I did.
right?
Uh,
And you stayed here for college.
yes.
Yeah, okay. How did you wind up going to Illinois Wesleyan? What was?
I back at that time, there was a little bit of a religious element to the institution, and that appealed to me. Ironically, I grew up in the Evangelical United Brethren Church, and they had not yet merged with the Methodist Church, and so, there was some kind of push to go to those schools, and so I went to Illinois Wesleyan instead.
Okay, all right. While you were there, you were studying chemistry,
Correct.
but then decided that maybe that wasn't the direction that your life.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story because I liked chemistry, and about my sophomore year, I began to think about, okay, what am I going to do with this? Am I just going to be in a lab? I'm kind of a people person, and thought that might not agree with me. Do I want to go into teaching? So, I kind of cast about to figure out what I was going to do, and in that process, I realized that God was calling me to ministry. It was something that I'd kind of kept pushing back, but as I was doing this searching, it came to the surface, and I realized that I was being called to ministry.
Yeah.
I'd had a couple of occasions where I, was in front of the public, and I had a lot of stage fright. I mean, it's just really difficult to be in front of the public, and I made a deal with God, believe it or not, that if God would take care of the preaching, I would go into the ministry. And God agreed to that, I guess, and took care of that, because I was able to get into the pulpit each Sunday and say something that at least made sense. And there were actually some times when I was uncomfortable with the ministry and kind of looked for an exit door, and I would move toward that door and it would shut. It's kind of like God was saying, we had a deal here. But I continued in chemistry. I liked the professors in the department, so I just got a bare bones chemistry major. And I picked up some religion courses as a minor, and of course I got plenty in seminary. So.
Right. The part you mentioned about the difficulty speaking in front of people and so forth. Did you ever get to the point where that really was not an issue for you, or?
It's no longer an issue. I mean, you do it enough, you get used to it, and so I'm very comfortable in front of the public. I can't keep my mouth shut. I mean, but every Sunday there's always a little bit of anxiety, when you're preaching or whatever, always wondering, how it's going to come across and so forth.
Yeah. So you were ordained as a Methodist minister.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Got married, had 2 children, got a job at McMurray College.
That was one of the appointments. In the United Methodist Church, we're appointed, we're sent, we're not called. Anyway, they had a position there called Director of Church Relations. And McMurray was a United Methodist school, and they were kind of wanting to strengthen their relationship with the church. And so the bishop and district superintendent thought I might be able to do a good job with that. They sent me there to do that. While I was there, after the first year, there were some changes in the religion department, and the person who was then chaplain moved into full-time teaching, which opened up the chaplain's position, which was half-time. And so the president offered that to me to continue the church relations and to be chaplain. which is really, about every minister's dream. It's just, for me, it was just kind of being in the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun.
Then where did you head, where was your next stop on that?
I went to Peoria, to University United Methodist Church, to be on the staff as an associate.
Yeah. And then you moved to several other Methodists, but pretty well stayed in Central Illinois.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Up until 2013, when you retired. You guys decided to retire in Decatur, and yet
Mhm.
you'd never been here. I mean, you might have been here, but you'd never lived here.
Not lived in Decatur.
Yeah.
Actually, some years before, served the church at Mowequa.
Yeah.
So Decatur was kind of the place we came to shop and to do some other things.
Right.
So we knew Decatur.
Yeah.
And so when I was appointed to Maroa, I said to my wife, we ought to look at Decatur as a place to retire. We were looking at Peoria, but Peoria had gotten kind of big and traffic was kind of bad. And I said, we'll get connected with doctors and dentists and all like that. Healthcare seems to be good here. Cost of living's less. Real estate is reasonable. And so that influenced our decision.
Yeah. Now you've got a hobby.
Yes.
And as I said, I bet your hobby involves wearing a particular kind of cap, doesn't it?
That's correct. I wear an engineer's cap. I'm a model railroader, a train enthusiast. I'm building a layout in my basement. This is the first house that I've owned for a period of time that where I could actually build a layout in the house. Before that, I just schlepped this 4x8 layout between parsonages. So I'm in the process of building something. I don't know if it'll be finished before my demise or not. I also run the train at the zoo, which is fun to do, especially to see the enthusiasm of the kids when they ride the train.
Yeah.
It's the same story for many of us, not all of us. One Christmas I received a Lionel train set. That's often how it starts.
Yeah.
And would love to set the train up and just go around the oval and watch it go around. Started developing a Lionel layout and traded the old set in and got newer stuff and like that. And then my band director turns out was an HO model railroader, and he kept telling us about his train layout and HO and all like that. So he won me over and some other of my friends, and so I traded in all my Lionel stuff and started getting HO, and tried to begin to develop a layout with that. In Litchfield, I joined a train club. That really makes a big difference when you can belong to a club like that.
Yeah. So you also, in your retirement, became more involved in local LGBTQ plus organizations and activities.
Yes.
How did that come about?
I've always been a supporter of the LGBT community. I tried to do some in the church as a pastor, but back then it was difficult. I did preach on it some so that people knew where I was at. And so when I retired, I was really freed up to pursue working with that in a fuller way. I was alerted some years ago of a young woman who wanted to start a LGBT youth group for youth, and I connected with her, and we founded what became the Macon County Youth Pride. I left that and with some others founded the P-Flag Decatur group. Later on, I became involved with Decatur, what was then Decatur Pride. That organization had a rocky time. I left it for a while, came back to it. There was a period of time where, during COVID, where it really just kind of fell apart, and no one was doing anything. So I, started the process to resurrect it.
Yeah.
The only problem is that when you take the bull by the horns like that, then you get put into the leadership. So, now I'm president of what is now Decatur, Illinois Pride.
Yeah. So you had an active time in your retirement and certainly in your work career. As you look at those two parts of your life, let's take first your ministry career. What is there in that that you would say stands out as something that really was very meaningful to you?
Well, of course, my stint at McMurray College was significant because, like I say, being a chaplain is a lot of clergy person's dream. So, and I got a chance to live that. There are pluses and minuses to being a pastor. There was, certainly headaches that I don't miss anymore. But being able to be a part of people's lives, to help them, to be with them in tough times, like when a death of a loved one, but also joyous moments like baptisms. I've been back to Moweaqua and talked with a young lady who works at a funeral home there, who I baptized as a baby. And those kinds of connections are always a great joy.
Sure. And what about in your retirement and your work with the, LGBTQ community? What stands out for you in that is something that
again, through PFLAG, I will often get calls by people who are needing help in some way. And it always feels good to be able to either talk with them directly and help them, or link them with resources. That's always a pleasure. It's gratifying to be able to do that.
Yeah.
With Decatur Illinois Pride, one of our main goals, or one of the main things that we do, is to put on a Pride Fest every year. We're looking at our third Pride Fest since COVID, and it's gratifying to see the LGBTQ plus community gather together. Many of them are grateful for this event and the possibility of gathering together as a community. Wish more of them would help out, but that's kind of how it is with things. Like I say, it's been something that I've been an advocate for a long time, and retirement has afforded me, has kind of released me from any prohibitions of the church about that. Now, United Methodist Church has now embraced that after our great divorce, and so it would be a different story now if I were an active pastor.
Well, thank you very much, Mark, for sharing with us.
You're welcome.
And,
Appreciate the opportunity.
okay.